Your Royal Majesty, and the representative of His Eminence, the Obong of Calabar, who is not here with us at this moment. I want to thank you very much for the opportunity granted our team to meet with the palace. When we were ushered in, we were warned in advance that we are meeting with great generations of leaders that have been around before us, because we pride ourselves as the digital generation. But when we entered into the palace, we discovered that you are running a digital palace over here, with every corner glistening, and I see a lot of digital equipment. The speakers are working very well, and it's transmitting even without wires. So this is exactly what we are talking about. You are ahead of us. Yes. But the reason we are here today is we are going to be very direct. We are a generation of young people who have watched the events of this country happening for as long as we have lived. And you are a generation of elders who have also seen this country from the time it started. As I see you sitting down, it feels like you were here when independence happened. I was born after the war, a year after the Civil War ended. And a lot of people here were born after different things happened in Nigeria. But what I experienced was just a brief period in my life, which was in 1979, between 1979 and 1985, that I had free education in the southwestern region of Nigeria. I was actually born beside a lake in the Niger Delta region, but starting from Ondo State. So I'm one of you perfectly. You don't have to worry about if water comes here today, we will all swim to safety. I'm your brother and your son and grandson. But what I'm trying to tell you as a story is that we haven't had it good. I mean, our generation. We've only seen misery, we've only seen suffering, and we've only seen tears and sorrow. And as we are sitting down here, we are a broken people who are living in a broke nation. Your generation enjoyed a lot. In fact, we can see it even from your fashion. Till today, you are still very fashionable because that is how you were groomed. You had university education for those of you who went to the university, where your rooms were like hotel rooms of 5-star hotels of today. You had cooks serving you in your hostels. You had everything working for you. Some of you who traveled abroad came back to Nigeria because you were upset with the economies abroad. This was where the economy was. The Naira was the best currency there was, not only in Africa, but the world, because the Naira at the time was better than the dollar, it was better than the pounds. But what we have today is a different story and a different narrative and a different situation. And we have waited and supported this generation ahead of us and come to a conclusion that the time to intervene for ourselves is now. It's not being selfish, as some may want us to believe. It is self-enlightened interest that if you are confronted with survivor, you have to protect yourself first. It's like getting on a plane when they are reading that first announcement to you, that if the cabin pressure is lost and you have to put the oxygen mask on your face, do it for yourself first before you help another person. But in this way, we will put the oxygen masks on our faces and also help you. Because, you know, the elders who have worked for years in their life, they deserve pension. And what we've been told is that they are no longer even paying pensions anymore, as at when due, for those who have worked. In fact, some people will work for 35 years just to get their names registered to collect their gratuity and pension. It's impossible anymore in this nation. So all of us are living from hand to mouth. We are depending on crumbs and handouts from our political leaders. What we have decided to do is to come and ask you to understand that this time around, we want to take on the political system to rescue Nigeria for all of us. I, Omoyele Sowore, have come to speak with you, to also announce to you, to explain to you and engage and interact with you that please, our fathers, we, on behalf of our founding fathers, want to take this country back. Take it back from the political cabals, take it back from the mafias that are located everywhere, take it back from incompetence and mediocrity, and take it back from corruption and misrule and mismanagement, for which it is known. We are here today in Calabar. And Calabar, this is my first time in Calabar, but I was taught about Calabar when I was in primary school. I was taught about Calabar when I was in secondary school and in the university as a place of tourism, but also as a place where goods from international destinations can arrive in Nigeria, which means that Calabar should be a bubbling economic center in this country. But what we have is always on paper. Calabar has an export processing zone. Calabar has been designated as this. Every decade, Calabar is designated as something. But today, Calabar is nothing. That is the truth. Yesterday, we went to the Cross River, which I heard is 97 kilometers long. And a contract had been awarded to a contractor to dredge this river in a way that it would have brought about not only employment but economic development to this zone. But the contractor has been playing hooky. He has not done the job that needs to be done, so that puts Calabar in another dire constrained area. We went yesterday to see internally displaced people, refugees in their own country, people of Bakassi. Horrible condition in that place. There's nothing we want to tell you, sirs, that is news to you. You have been through these things before, and you have heard it many times. I'm sure in this palace, everybody has come and made a promise to do wonders in this area, to the extent that by now, you should be very cynical of anybody standing in front of you saying that he wants to do another wonder in Calabar. Yes, you should know. In fact, by now, you should be tired of attending to all these politicians who come left and right and center. They talk, they give you something, they disappear. The next time you hear from them again is another politician who will come from another zone. In fact, in your lifetime, you have seen the same politicians come different times under different political parties, under different kinds of names. Sometimes they dress like you, sometimes they don't dress like you, all to deceive you and to deceive the rest of us. But one thing is standing out clear, sirs, and this is a promise and a covenant we are making before you, that on behalf of all these young people that you are seeing, so many of them your children, so many of them your grandchildren, that Nigeria is about to experience a revolutionary development of a political nature, that we will take the country and put it and make sure that whatever it is that you have left on earth, you will be proud of all of us that are sitting down here today. You will be proud that you can have a country where you say our children are doing very well, and that's how it is done all over the world. That social security should not be met for a few alone. And if the world is good, if the country is good, the elders will no longer need to be afraid, right, of not living a good life here or a better life after. My suspicion, having grown up in Nigeria, having traveled abroad, is that where you die will determine the heaven you go to. Some people will say that people live through their dreams. My worry is that Nigerians cannot afford to sleep, so they don't even dream. And if they dream at all, it's nightmare. All of us have had malaria before. We know how it feels when you go to sleep in malaria. When I used to have malaria a lot, anytime I fall asleep, I'll be falling down, but I will never touch the ground. That's what malaria does to you, because it affects your cerebral attention. You know, it's a very dangerous disease. But that's not just the only thing that is happening. What we have come to tell you is that we have 10 points of engagement with the Nigerian state, with the Nigerian people, with the Nigerian geopolitical space. And when we are talking about geopolitical space, we are not talking about the geopolitical space you have known. There are 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria right now. We have created a 7th one. That's zone 7. Our own zone is the zone of the disenchanted, the disenfranchised, and the decimated of Nigeria. And the zone is coming to rescue the rest of the 6 other zones and put it through a life of security. There's no way we are going to make this country work if the country is not secure. And right now, this country is undergoing bloodletting. Secondly, we want to bring power, electricity, SARS. In your lifetime and our lifetime, we want to be able to sleep minimally 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with the lights on. The only time you put on the light is where you are worried about your bills. We want to turn this country into an infrastructural department where it becomes a place where works are going on. We need to build hospitals, transmission lines. We need to build bridges. We need to dredge our rivers. We need to build a deep sea port in this Calabar, real deep sea port, not the one that is designated on paper, the one that we studied in the university when I was studying geography, that has never been seen. It's still there in our Department of Geography at the University of Lagos, what they want to do to. And I went to University of Lagos and graduated in 1995. I studied Calabar Seaport there. It's in our books, but I cannot find it when I came here. So no more theory, but practice now. Because as we are speaking here, I don't know why we do this to ourselves. There are trucks in Lagos that span from, I think, in some places you start from mile 2 all the way to Apapa. There's also from Omoyele, for people who are familiar with Lagos, all the way to Apapa. There is no reason for congestion of trucks when there could have been a port in Calabar here that is relieving the Lagos ports and several other ports that could have been built. And it's not expensive to build ports. Modernity has shown us that these things can be done. But at any rate, these contracts have been awarded several times already, and nothing has been done about it. Just like we're talking about the Cross River dredging. A senator, Hopu Zodima, took the contract. It is a well-known, it's on the books. They've paid him mobilization fees of almost 70%. We did not find even a sand digger inside Cross River yesterday when we went there. Right, sir. So and that takes us back to the issue of corruption in this country. We cannot continue like this if people are stealing everything that is left to develop the country left, right, and center. Our economy is something that has to be revived, but based on security, based on power provision, based on infrastructure, and based on closing the loopholes on the side of corruption. Restructuring is something that I know is very dear to the heart of you members of the traditional council sitting down here. We want to restructure this country so that every zone or every region or state can grow at its own pace and control their own resources. But we have a problem with the elders, and I will submit it here today. When you are doing the restructuring conversation, you don't invite us there. It's only the elders that think that they are entitled to restructure Nigeria. But don't forget that a lot of elders are already at the departure lounge of life. We need young people whose future you want to restructure to sit on the table of restructuring with you. They used to say in Yoruba land, where I'm very familiar with that, if children know how to wash their hands, they can eat with the elders. But the elders have also forgotten that they no longer use their hands to eat. So let's distribute the fork and the cutleries and be eating together, so that we won't have the kind of disempowerment that we have now of the youth. There are almost 80% of our youths, they have nothing they are doing. And in all honesty, if we don't take care of this problem, we are sitting on a gunpowder, a keg of gunpowder that will explode any moment from now. So the best way to restructure the country is to allow young people to be within the driving seat of power, to be the captain of the ship of power, so that when we are restructuring the country together, all voices are on the table. Even our constitution, as you know, and I'm sure some of you have attended a lot of the constitutional conferences that happen, our constitution is not really representative of our people. The most fraudulent word in our constitution is the word "we, the people of Nigeria." But who were there when they did the constitution? I wasn't there. These young people were not there. They were not represented. Their signature or imprimatur we're not represented on that particular document. So how do we make our constitution all encompassing through restructuring is something we will do after we win the election next year. Finally, the last 4 things are health, education, agriculture, and tourism. And tourism, of course, is something that you are familiar with, because every night on NTA, if you mention tourism, they mention Calabar. If they mention tourism, they mention Cross River. But I don't see any tourism that's even really happening here, apart from the nice weather that I've been enjoying since yesterday. Because no deliberate effort has been made to turn this place into a touristic center. When you want to make somewhere a tourist center, you construct roads, trains that links the place to the rest of the world. The best way to get to Calabar is by air. You know, even the air travel is only once a day. If you miss it, that's it. So it has to be a lot of deliberate efforts. And who are the best people to do this? We young people who have the exposure, the intellect, and the energy to run this country the modern way they do it in the 21st century all over the world. This message that I just delivered to you in a nutshell is called Spicer Heat. That's the acronym of our intervention within the Nigerian state starting from next year. By the time I come here next year, it will be as the president-elect of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and you'll be proud of us. You'll be proud of us. That time we can sit on the same table as you. Right now we are not qualified to sit around you.
My dear young brother, Sowore.
Yes, sir.
You are welcome.
Thank you, sir.
To Calabar, not only to Calabar, but the palace of Obong of Calabar. You have seen the place, and as you have mentioned, a lot of things have happened. Those things we had expected, we don't find them, but we pray one day they will come.
Yes.
I want to observe in the first instance that you, as an aspirant, a very young man. Well, I remember in the Bible story, in the days of old, in Israel, young people at the age of 8, 12 years, and so on, were elected to succeed their parents on the royal stool. So if we find one of you of that age to lead Nigeria, I don't think you'll be making a mistake. I want to encourage you to go on. Particularly you are from the media field. And people from that field are very courageous. I want to tell you to carry on, speak the truth and speak it ever. That is what we learned even from the primary school, that you must speak the truth and speak it ever. Cost it what it will. For he who hides a wrong thing does a wrong thing still.
Wow.
So you carry on. But my advice, you be a little bit mindful of your source of information. Before you disseminate any information, be sure of the source. So avoid the clause of the law. If you can get on like that, I think you will be very successful. I wish you God's blessing in your endeavor and encourage you to proceed without regret.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.